When they come with the whole thing about, no, I want to give you exposure, free exposure, it has a lot of, a lot, a lot of variables that we are going to look in it right now. So, like I already said, stay with me, pay attention. Hola, people. ¿Qué tal? Today, we are going to talk about exposure, and I'm going to do my damn best to stress the importance of exposure, the difference between good and bad exposure, which is, of course, subjective, and all the other factors that come into it. So we will get to that later into the video. Let's just start with this scene. All right. Well, exposure, when you look at the word, to expose, to uncover, to enlighten, to bring light to take out of the dark. So anything that deals with the trajectory of your career, the build up of your career, and how you want to develop yourself, how you want to make yourself known has to do with the exposure. And that can be done through media, magazines, newspaper, and it can also be done through third parties. And it can be a combination of both. And they do kind of depend on each other. There are no more ends. So let's start with the most obvious. One of the things that a lot of artists and creatives have dealt with, and that is through third parties. Example, a third party might contact artist A and says, we absolutely love your work and we would love for you to do a live painting at a show, event, or gathering auction that we have. Now, unfortunately, we do not have a budget. Or we have a very small, humble budget. But what we definitely can offer is exposure. Now, I think a lot of us have heard something exactly like that, or something in the nature of it, something that is affiliated to that particular example. It is not to say that third parties do not have a budget or that they have a very humble budget and we are questioning whether they do or not. But the intention that they have with it is to play on your emotions, right? They are basically asking you to show goodwill in order for you to exchange a service or any other thing that you have so that they can add you to a program that would lead to a very magnificent event. But here's where I'm going to stop you right now. Don't start thinking in that direction yet until you have listened to the rest of this video. You see, for a lot of third parties, and it can be any type of organization, it can be an art related organization, a non art related organization, whatever you consider or have dealt with in your life that can commission or book an artist for a particular assignment. When they come with the whole thing about, no, I want to give you exposure, free exposure, free exposure. You don't have to pay for it. The only thing you have to do is just show up and be who you are. Free exposure. It has a lot of, a lot of, a lot, a lot of variables that we are going to look in it right now. So, like I already said, stay with me, pay attention. Goodwill comes into play, but another important factor also comes into play that they hope a lot of artists are not really concerned about, aware of, or will bring into the conversation, and that is added value, your added value. Now, on this platform where we are, right in this neighborhood, the MCG Studio Art and all the neighborhoods aligned with this studio, we have decorum, we have information, and we think. All right, we appreciate who we are, what we have to offer. And that means we understand that we bring added value with what it is that we create. There's a reason why people approach you to participate in their events. And that is because your art brings value. It brings something to an ambiance. It brings something to the atmosphere. It allows them to add a little swag, a little spice up whatever it is that they are organizing and offering to a large audience, or a modestly large audience. Your art, your performance, your creativity, or whatever it is that you have to offer on an artistic or creative level, they know that. The question is, do you? Do you? That is the whole question. Are you aware of the fact that what you have to offer has an added value and actually should be turned the other way around? You should be the one asking and basically saying, well, I am so honored for this great opportunity. I think it's a great event that you are organizing. And if you want to make use of my creativity or my art or any services and products that I have, I would be happy to discuss with you what my prices are. That is the only answer that you need to be given, especially now in 2023 and further on. And I understand that for a segment of artists, this can be a very uncomfortable conversation. How do you start a conversation about your prices and that you feel that if you are being asked for an event, even if there is free exposure, you should get a fee and should be awarded a fee for your time, your art, your effort. And let me just stress again, you are allowed to say that, right? You are allowed to say that. What comes into play in this particular situation is that, one, it could be fear of missing out, FOMO. You don't want to miss out on the opportunity that could lead you to getting clients, customers, publicity. Media might be there. You might be in a newspaper. You might be standing somewhere on a blog, and people will get to see what it is that you create and what you do. You also don't want to get into that conversation to be uncomfortable. Like I already said, it is not a comfortable conversation for a lot of artists, and that's why some of us rather have representation or a second person do the dirty job. You do it. I don't want to talk about that. You do it. It's neither bad, it's neither wrong. Let me just reassure you in that. Not everybody is built the same way. Not everybody is as confident to say, well, I rather want to do that conversation or I rather have somebody else do that conversation for me. But yet and however, what you leave on the table is the possibility and the opportunity to show people what the added value might be, or remember them what the added value is of having your art, your creativity at a particular event. And that free exposure will just not do it. It won't cut it. Too many times we are falling into this trap where we have that FOMO and believe, well, this next opportunity might be a great opportunity for me to show what it is that I do, because I'm really hungry for that next, chance, or I've been doing it for so long and I'm really, really looking for a break. And I just want to tell you, it ain't worth it. It's not. It's not worth it. Another factor that we are going to interject into this equation is good old intention. What do you intend to do with that free exposure? Do you even know what the free exposure is? Do you know who's giving you the free exposure? Where is this free exposure coming from? Because if the exposure is free, why do these people need to have you for their event? Why don't you just get the free exposure? Am I hitting a nerve? I hope so. I have to start asking those questions. When people hit you up, and most of the time it's through email, which already should tell you, listen, come over here. When people hit you up through email, they already checked your website. They already checked your art. They already checked what it is that you create. That's the whole reason why they're hitting you up. All right? That's the whole reason why they're hitting you up. And another reason by that is, and I'm just going to be completely honest, and I know I'm going to rub some people the wrong way, but it wouldn't be me if I wouldn't do it. It wouldn't be me. So you don't really know how things work. You don't really know what the do's and the don'ts are. You don't know what the disadvantages and what the advantages are on a short-term or long-term vision. They're kind of hoping for that, right? They're kind of hoping for that. And if you're new and fresh, or you're now ready to really professionalize yourself and get further into your process, and understand that exposure and publicity and media is part of that equation for your career as well, they're banking on it. They're really hoping that you just do not know what it is that you are talking about or what you do. Now, I'm not going to say that you need to know everything, but just the awareness of where people are gauging where you are in the process will definitely help to understand what their fullest intention is. Your intention is going to attract exactly the type of people that you want. If you are hungry enough, thirsty enough to take on each and every single opportunity that comes to you, trust me, there will be people around you that might feed you poison. I'm not saying don't stay hungry, don't be ambitious, because I definitely consider myself to be an ambitious person. I definitely consider myself to be a hungry person, but I also know what my don'ts are. There are certain things I just won't do because of experience, because of the things that I've seen, heard, read, and also because I understand that on the long term, that is not how I want to build my platform, and it's not going to help me. It's not going to set myself up for success. Is your intention just to skyrocket and be like, I want to be the next success, like right now? As a matter of fact, yesterday, you cannot be surprised by the type of people that you might attract along the way. So now we're going to make this equation even more interesting. We're going to add another variable. You excited? No? Okay, well, how's that my problem? So the next factor, the next variable that we're going to put into this equation when it comes to exposure is your fullest capacity. We all understand, of course, that we are constantly learning. Every day is another day that we can learn. Your current year is nothing like the years that you had 5 years ago. And hopefully they're not going to look any way like the 5 years ahead of you. We would like to do it in a progressive, successful, abundant, and positive way, exponentially. Now, if you put yourself in line with third parties that give you these quick solutions, right? Like a quick fix, is that something that will bring you to the fullest capacity of who you are? I know that we all have to start out somewhere, right? The little wins will eventually come to the bigger wins. I heard you. Trust me, I heard you. You have to use discernment in the wins that you're now adding up to, right? You have to know how you're collecting the coins, Mario. You cannot just be going everywhere, anywhere. What is really a win and what was just, was okay, right? That is hard to tell because who knows how something can work out for you when you get that exposure. It might be that there is someone just walking over there in a certain area, in a certain place, a certain event. They see you and all of a sudden you hit big. It can. But again, that is because you already did your due diligence. You already understood that you want to get to the fullest capacity of who you are, not just at one particular level and get all of those things that just, are temporarily fillers. It's not what you want, and it's not going to look really good for you at all either. Because people are also, whether you like it or not, people are kind of judging you on it as well. What is it that you have achieved? What is it that you have done? How do you expose yourself? Who is your tribe? Who are the people around you that have exposed you to a certain area? People are looking at that and they make their conclusions from that as well. Another great way of looking at this is with this example. Say you have a battery and you're loading that battery, but you know that the battery can only work at its fullest capacity if you load it to its fullest capacity. It won't really work if you load it below its capacity because you are impatient, because you just want to get it done, because you are just too thirsty to get the next opportunity. All of those factors will ruin the fullest capacity that a battery actually can achieve. Now see yourself as that battery. Do you want to be loaded to the fullest capacity so that you can really charge yourself up and give all the power and energy that you have in yourself? Or do you want to be wasting time because you're not at your fullest capacity, you're halfway in, and you're just stopping at a level that is not serving you, or only serving you because you put yourself at that particular capacity? Which one is it going to be? Let me help you, because the last one is just not given. It is not. I also mentioned media, newspaper, magazines, blogs, right? Shows, vlogs, whatever, podcasts. All of those forms are also ways of getting exposure. That's why I said in the beginning, it has to do with each other. One builds of the other. Is there such a thing as bad exposure in that sense? Yes, there is. You do want to be mindful of who you're talking to, what you're talking about, because eventually you're putting your brand, your presentation of who you are, what you do out for yourself, right? If you do not want to be in gossip, don't go to a blog or a vlog that's talking about gossip. If you want to talk about your art and the importance of that, be amongst those that have an eye for that. Be amongst those that really would appreciate that. Be amongst those of who their audience would appreciate your input and your gift. Do not go into a lane that's not going to serve you. Again, knowing what the wins will be. That you went to a podcast can be a win, but if the podcast has nothing to do with it, with whatever it is that you're doing, or the audience is so far off of what it is that you're doing, is that really a win? Listen, I'll call that let it work for you. It's going to take a while before you get into that space of having those people put their attention towards you and see who you are, because again, what is your added value? What is the weight that you have? What is your story? And how have you, for so far, presented yourself to the outside world? What is the capacity that you have? See how all of these factors just work with each other, right? So ending this part of the video, exposure is not as black and white. Okay, exposure is not as black and white, and there are many factors that can determine whether you want to take on exposure, yes or no. If this went really fast, go back to the video, stop at the areas where you need more explanation, and just listen to it again. Let it sink in. All of these factors work together. None of them should be just seen separately. They all work together for your own good. All right? All right.
How to keep the healing.